I never thought I'd be the guy with an HOA nightmare story, but here we are. My name's Nathan, and 3 years ago, I bought a stunning 5-acre property on the edge of Willow Grove Estates. The main draw was a beautifully restored barn, a spacious, rustic gem I've since turned into my home office and weekend workshop. I'm an architectural engineer, working from home most days, and that barn is my haven. Willow Grove Estates has an HOA, but when I purchased the property, I was told that since my land sat on the neighborhood's border and my barn was far from the main road, I'd only face basic upkeep rules. That suited me fine. I keep my place tidy, pay my dues on time, and strive to be a good neighbor. For 2 years, I barely dealt with the HOA. That changed when Cassandra Mitchler, Karen, as the neighborhood quietly calls her, became HOA president last year. From day one, Cassandra set out to restore order to our community, which meant firing off violation notices for things as trivial as garbage cans lingering curbside for more than 6 hours after pickup. My first clash with her came when she slapped a neon orange notice on my mailbox, claiming my barn was an unauthorized structure, needing compliance review. I politely emailed her my property deed and documents proving the barn was grandfathered in when the development was built. I figured that'd settle it. It was only the start. 3 days later, Cassandra showed up unannounced, a thick binder under her arm, her signature auburn bob flawless despite the muggy summer heat. "Mr. Carter," she said, skipping any greeting, "I've reviewed your documentation. While the barn itself may be grandfathered, its current use as she checked her notes, home office and workshop doesn't align with neighborhood aesthetic guidelines." I leaned against my doorframe, keeping my cool. "Cassandra, it's a mess." "Mitchell," she corrected, chin up. "MS. Mitchell," I amended. "My property line starts 30 feet behind us, and the barn's another 100 yards back. It's invisible from community roads or properties. How's it impacting the aesthetic?" She sniffed. "Regardless of visibility, all structures in the Willow Grove zone must follow our guidelines. I'll need to inspect the interior for compliance." I firmly but politely declined, citing HOA bylaws that limited their authority to external appearances only. Cassandra left in a huff, warning, "This isn't over." Over the next few months, I got notices for everything from my grass height, well within regs, to unauthorized vegetation in my garden, native wildflowers that support pollinators. Each time, I responded with proof of compliance, and each time, Cassandra seemed more irritated. Then came the annual Willow Grove Summer Gala. Normally held at the community clubhouse, it was sidelined this year by renovations, leaving the board scrambling for a venue. Apparently, while driving past my property, Cassandra had a light bulb moment. I was in my barn, tweaking a complex structural model for a client, when my doorbell rang nonstop. At the door stood Cassandra and 3 HOA board members, all in matching polo shirts with the Willow Grove logo. "Good news, Mr. Carter," Cassandra announced, stepping into my foyer uninvited. "The board's decided to grant you an exemption from any barn violations." There were no valid violations to begin with, I cut in exchange for letting us use your barn for this year's gala," she continued, ignoring me. "It's perfect for our 130 guests, and the rustic vibe will be a charming country chic theme." I stared, momentarily speechless. "You want to use my private workspace for your party?" "The community party," she corrected. "As a Willow Grove resident, you're part of the community, aren't you? Unless you're saying you don't care about community spirit." The 3 board members nodded in sync, eyeing me expectantly. "I appreciate the offer," I said carefully, "but I'm mid-project with tight deadlines. My equipment and materials are set up in the barn, and I can't risk damage or disruption." Cassandra's smile didn't budge, but her eyes sharpened. "Mr. Carter, perhaps I wasn't clear. The board is willing to overlook certain irregularities in your property's compliance for this small favor." Was she threatening me? My temper flared, but I kept my voice steady. "Are you saying if I don't let you use my private property, you'll fabricate HOA violations against me?" The board members shifted uncomfortably, but Cassandra didn't flinch. "I'm just noting that cooperation makes community living smoother. The gala's in 3 weeks. We need access the day before to decorate." She handed me a document. "Here's the formal request. I'm sure you'll make the right choice. We'll check back next week." With that, they left, leaving me fuming, document in hand. That night, I pored over the HOA bylaws. As expected, nothing compelled a homeowner to host community events on private property. I also found multiple cases where Cassandra had overstepped her authority. The next day, I called my college friend, Tom Bennett, a real estate attorney specializing in HOA disputes. After hearing me out, he confirmed they had no right to demand my property and that retaliatory actions could trigger legal action against the HOA. Armed with this, I sent a professional but firm email to the entire board, declining their request and warning that further harassment or retaliation would lead to legal steps. I attached the relevant bylaws for clarity. The response wasn't an email, but a personal visit. 2 days later, Cassandra appeared at my door. "Mr. Carter," she said, voice syrupy, "there's been a misunderstanding. No one's threatening you. We're just asking for a neighborly gesture that benefits everyone, including you." "I've made my stance clear," I replied. "My property's not available for community events. I have work commitments that can't be disrupted." Her fake smile wavered. "You know, several neighbors have complained about noise from your barn power tools after 6 p.m., hammering on weekends. It's very disruptive. A blatantly me nearest neighbor was a quarter-mile away, and I rarely use tools after hours. Feel free to file those complaints formally," I said. "I'll address them through proper channels. Now, if there's nothing else, the gala planning committee will be very disappointed," she cut in. "We've already designed invitations featuring your barn as the venue." I raised an eyebrow. "That's a planning error on your part, not my problem." Her pleasant mask cracked. "Listen, Mr. Carter, one way or another, that barn will host our gala. I suggest you reconsider before things get unpleasant." With that veiled threat, she stormed back to her luxury SUV. The next week was quiet, and I hoped Cassandra had found another venue. I should have known better. On Thursday, I got an HOA email titled Notice of Emergency Board Meeting. Resolution passed. It stated that, due to urgent community needs, an emergency meeting held without notice to members, violating bylaws, had passed a resolution allowing the HOA to temporarily repurpose common areas and adjacent structures for events. The kicker: they'd arbitrarily redefined my property's border, claiming my barn was partly on a common area easement. Pure fiction, backed by a shoddily edited plot map. I called Tom, who was livid. "This is completely illegal," he said. "They can't redraw property lines or hold secret meetings to manipulate bylaws. We'll shut this down." Tom drafted a cease and desist letter that afternoon, which I hand-delivered to each board member's house. Cassandra wasn't home, so I left it in her mailbox. The next morning, I woke to vehicles on my property. Outside, 3 cars were parked near my barn, and several people, including Cassandra, were unloading boxes and decorations. I grabbed the cease and desist letter and rushed out. "What do you think you're doing?" I demanded. Cassandra turned with a triumphant smirk. "Setting up for the gala, of course. Didn't you get the notice?" The board vote was unanimous. "I sent you a cease and desist from my attorney," I said, holding up a copy. "You're trespassing on private property. Leave immediately." She waved dismissively. "Your threats don't scare me, Mr. Carter. The revised easement clearly shows the revised easement is fraudulent." I cut in. "You can't redraw property lines because it suits you. Remove yourselves and your stuff before I call the police." One volunteer, a middle-aged man I recognized as the treasurer, Alan, looked uneasy. "Cassandra, maybe we should discuss this if he has legal representation." "Stop being spineless, Alan," she snapped. "He's bluffing. No one's calling the police." I pulled out my phone. "Try me." "Go ahead," she challenged. "The police will side with the HOA. They always do." I started dialing, but Cassandra grabbed keys from a volunteer and marched to my barn. "Let's get these decorations inside while Mr. Carter wastes the police's time." To my horror, she unlocked my barn door. Later, I learned she'd tricked the neighborhood handyman, who once fixed my garage, into copying my barn key, claiming I'd authorized it for emergency HOA access. Before I could stop her, Cassandra and 2 volunteers entered, shoving my equipment aside for tables and decorations. Furious but cautious, I called 911, calmly explaining that trespassers were on my property and refusing to leave. While waiting, I watched helplessly as more volunteers arrived, turning my workspace into a party venue. Cassandra directed with smug authority, occasionally smirking my way. After about 20 minutes, a police car pulled up. Officer Lopez, whom I'd met at a community safety meeting, approached me. "Mr. Carter, we got a call about trespassers." I showed him my deed, the cease and desist, and the fake easement, explaining clearly. He listened, then nodded. "Let me talk to the other party." Cassandra launched into a theatrical spiel about community easements and HOA authority. Her voice grew shrill as Lopez asked pointed questions. He returned to me. "Sir, this seems like a civil matter regarding boundaries. But until that's settled in court, the current deed and records stand. This is your private property. They need to leave if you're asking them to." Relief hit me. "Yes, I want them all gone immediately." Lopez addressed the group, many now looking sheepish. "Folks, pack up and vacate this property now. This is private land, and you don't have permission to be here." Most volunteers quickly gathered their things, muttering apologies as they left. Cassandra stood her ground. "This is ridiculous," she exploded. "We have every right to use this space." The board voted. "Ma'am," Lopez said firmly, "the board can't vote to use someone's private property without consent. Leave, or you could face criminal trespassing charges." Her face turned beet red. "The gala's tomorrow. We have no other venue. 130 people are expecting. That's not Mr. Carter's problem," Lopez interrupted. "Leave now." Fuming, Cassandra stormed past me, hissing, "This isn't over." Not by a long shot. After they left, Lopez advised changing my locks and adding security cameras. I thanked him, and he promised to file a report. That night, I had a 24-hour locksmith replace the barn locks and installed a simple camera system linked to my phone. The next morning, Saturday Galadami camera alerted me. On my phone, I saw Cassandra and catering staff approaching my barn. She tried her key in the new lock, then pounded the door in frustration. I grabbed my phone and went outside. "Can I help you?" I called. She whirled around. "You changed the locks? How dare you? How dare I secure my own property?" I replied, "Yes, I changed them after trespassers used a fraudulently obtained key to enter without permission." Her face twisted with rage. "The gala starts in 4 hours. We have nowhere else to go. You have to let us use the barn." "Actually, I don't," I said. "And after yesterday, I'm even less inclined to help." "You'll regret this," she seethed. "I'll make sure of it." A caterer cleared his throat. "Ms. Mitchell, we need to know where to set up. We've got ice sculptures melting in the truck." She ignored him, glaring at me. "One last chance, Carter. Open that barn, or I'll make your life hell." I crossed my arms. "Ms. Mitchell, I have Officer Lopez's card right here. Should I call him back? I'm sure he'd love to hear about more harassment." The caterer stepped forward. "Ms. Mitchell, seriously, we need a decision. We've got 4 other events today." For a moment, I thought she'd combust, face purple, fists clenched. Then she turned to the staff. "Set up in the cul-de-sac on Oak Lane," she ordered. "We'll have the gala in the street." The caterer blinked. "The street? But we'd need permits." "Just do it," she shrieked, startling him. I almost pitied her as she stormed to her car, yelling into her phone, likely scrambling to notify guests of the venue change. Later that afternoon, my doorbell rang. I checked the camera first, fool me once, and saw Alan, the treasurer, alone on my porch, looking nervous. I opened the door cautiously. "Hello, Alan." "Mr. Carter," he began, wringing his hands. "I want to apologize for yesterday. I wouldn't have been involved if I'd known Cassandra was lying about having permission to use your property." I nodded, wary but appreciative. "The thing is," he continued, "the gala's happening in the Oak Lane cul-de-sac without permits, blocking driveways. The police have been called, and it's a mess." I raised an eyebrow. "Sorry to hear that, but I'm not sure what you want me to do." "Nothing," he said quickly. "I'm here to tell you the board's holding an emergency meeting tomorrow to address Cassandra's conduct. Several members, including me, think her actions have exposed the HOA to serious legal liability. We've also found she's falsified documents before." Now he had my attention. "Go on. Would you attend the meeting and share your experience?" he asked. It had helped the board grasp the severity. I agreed, and the next morning, I arrived at the clubhouse conference room with Tom, my attorney, by my side. The room was packed with board members and other homeowners who'd clashed with Cassandra. She arrived late, looking disheveled. When she saw me, She froze, then plastered on a fake smile and took her seat at the table's head. Alan called the meeting to order, explaining the purpose. One by one, homeowners shared stories of Cassandra's overreach, arbitrary enforcement, and falsifications. When my turn came, I presented evidence of the trespassing, the fake property map, and the illegal key copying. Tom outlined the bylaws and state laws violated, noting the HOA's legal exposure. Cassandra tried interrupting, but Alan insisted she wait her turn. By the time all evidence was presented, the room was tense. Board members scribbled notes, their faces showing shock and anger. Finally, Alan turned to Cassandra. "Ms. Mitchell, do you have anything to say?" She stood, smoothing her skirt with shaky hands. "These are misunderstandings and exaggerations. As HOA president, I have a duty to uphold community standards, which sometimes requires firm action. I may have been overzealous, but everything was for Willow Grove's good." A board member, Lisa, spoke up. "Including falsifying property maps and copying keys?" Cassandra's confidence wavered. "Those were exceptional circumstances. The gala is our biggest event, and we had no venue." "That's not true," Alan countered. "I found emails showing you canceled our Riverside Community Center reservation 2 months ago, well before the conflict." Murmurs spread. Cassandra's face paled. Tom leaned forward. "Ms. Mitchell, my client has grounds for serious legal claims against you and the HOA. However, he's willing to consider not pursuing litigation if appropriate actions are taken today." All eyes turned to me. I nodded. Alan cleared his throat. "I move we take an immediate vote of no confidence in Cassandra Mitchell as HOA president and remove her from the board, effective immediately." The motion was seconded, and the vote was unanimous. Even her former allies turned against her. Alan stood. "Cassandra Mitchell, by board vote and per Section 7.3 of our bylaws on gross misconduct, you are removed as president and board member of the Willow Grove Estates HOA, effective immediately. Please surrender your HOA records, keys, and access cards before leaving." Cassandra sat frozen, mouth agape, as reality sank in. Then, with a strangled cry, she shot to her feet, her chair crashing behind her. "You can't do this," she shrieked, her composure gone. "I made this neighborhood what it is. None of you appreciated my work. This is mutiny." As security escorted her, still screaming, from the building, I caught her final wail. "I've been president for 5 years. You'll regret this." Then she was gone, leaving only the echo of her threats and the sweet silence of justice served.